So every single January, this tiny ski town high up in the Swiss Alps, it basically becomes the center of the universe for global power. It's called Davos, and it's home to the World Economic Forum. This is where heads of state, CEOs, activists, you name it, they all gather to try and solve the world's biggest problems. But here's the big question. Is it really a force for good? Or is it just the world's most exclusive, networking part?
In this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain on Davos. We're going to kick things off with its surprisingly humble beginnings, and then we'll look at some incredible historical moments that actually happened in those halls. We're also going to dive headfirst into the sharpest criticisms, this whole idea of the Davos Man. And finally, we'll ask if this super elite gathering can actually solve the massive, tangled polycrisis our world is facing right now.
All right, so let's jump right in by rewinding the clock. We're going way back to 1971, to this quiet Swiss town that, at the time, was famous for one thing, its tuberculosis sanatoriums. Not exactly a global hotspot. You see, a German professor named Klaus Schwab had this idea. And it was, pretty straightforward at first. He just wanted to help European businesses get up to speed with their American competitors, to teach them the latest US management tricks. It was basically just a private business retreat tucked away in the Alps. But right from the start, Schwab brought this pretty radical idea to the table. It was called stakeholder theory. This whole concept that a company isn't just there to make money for its shareholders. Nope, it has a duty to everyone involved, its employees, its suppliers, the whole community. And that philosophy, it would become the DNA of the entire organization. Okay, so what's really wild is how fast this whole thing changed. This wasn't just a business meeting for long. By 1987, it had a new name, the World Economic Forum, and a new mission, helping to solve global conflicts. It became this kind of neutral ground, right? A place where rivals could actually talk to each other without all the pressure of formal diplomacy. And this unique power to just get people in a room together, it has led to some absolutely game-changing moments. I mean, get this. In 1988, Greece and Turkey were literally on the verge of war. Their leaders met at Davos, signed a declaration, and pulled back from the brink. A year later, the Berlin Wall is coming down, and it's here that key players meet to figure out German reunification. And maybe the most powerful moment of all, in 1992, the whole world watched as Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk stood on a stage together right here, a massive step toward ending apartheid. And look, the impact isn't just about politics and handshakes. Back in 2000, Davos was the launchpad for GAVI, the Vaccine Alliance. This thing, born at Davos, has now helped vaccinate over 1 billion children. That's not just a number, that's millions of lives saved. It's a huge deal and shows what can happen when that money and expertise get pointed in the right direction.
Okay, but as Davos got bigger and more powerful, well, so did the criticism. It became this total lightning rod. And the very thing that made it powerful, getting all the world's most influential people in one spot, that became its biggest PR nightmare.
And this critique really gets summed up in this one term you hear a lot. Davos Man. The idea is that these attendees have become this new class of global elite. Their loyalty isn't to any one country. It's to the global system itself, the one that, makes them rich. For them, national borders are just annoying obstacles getting in the way of business.
So this idea of a detached elite, it just lights a fire under all sorts of criticism. You've got the hypocrisy charge, hundreds of private jets flying in to discuss climate change. There's the massive public cost for security at a private event. But maybe the biggest critique of all is that it's just a talking shop. A place where people show a lot of concern, but the systems that keep them on top and drive inequality never actually change.
This whole feeling of frustration was just perfectly nailed in this one viral moment back in 2019. The historian Rutger Bregman just came out and called out the elephant in the room: taxes. His comment, comparing it to a firefighters' conference where no one talks about water, just exploded because it captured that feeling so perfectly, that the people in the room often ignore the most obvious solutions to the problems they claim they want to fix. So that brings us to today. How is the forum even trying to stay relevant? Because let's face it, the world today is a completely different beast than it was in 1971, and Davos is now trying to grapple with a whole new set of tangled global challenges.
The forum itself has a word for what we're all living through: the polycrisis. It's this idea that we're not just facing separate problems, right? It's not just climate change over here and war over there and economic trouble somewhere else. No, they're all connected, all feeding off each other, and they all mash together to create this giant, tangled mess that's way bigger than any single problem on its own.
And that right there, that sets up the huge contradiction at the heart of Davos today. On the one hand, you have this really noble mission, improving the state of the world through cooperation.
But on the other hand, the reality is a world that's more divided than ever, where nobody trusts institutions and the gap between rich and poor is just getting wider. So the real question is, can this old model, which is all about getting the elites to agree, even work anymore in a world that's so completely broken apart?
And that really is what it all boils down to. Is Davos an essential lab for solving global problems? A unique place where powerful people can make connections that actually change the world for the better? Or is it just a gilded echo chamber for the super rich, a symbol of everything that's wrong with the system? That debate rages on, way up on that snowy mountain, leaving all of us to wonder where real change actually comes from.